My name is Tiffany Spraggins-Payne. I'm your host of Zigzag, which highlights women entrepreneurs and industry leaders of the science, technology, transportation, engineering, and mathematics industries. We talk to these women about their business models and how they differ from their competitors. Today, my guest is Betty Duroseau. She is the principal of Duroseau Management Services, LLC, a civil engineering and IT consulting firm. Duroseau Management Services specializes in integrating technology to modernize the management of civil infrastructures. Welcome, Betty.
Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. So, before we begin, I would love for you to give your definition of the word reinvention.
When I hear the word reinvention, what comes into mind is change. It's funny that you ask that. I am actually currently going through a reinvention with Duroseau Management Services. We've been in business since 2002. Our predominant clients were government agencies, schools, and utility companies. Now that the economy is changing, our environment is changing, and now that people are now doing more commerce online, it kind of forces me and almost everyone else to reinvent themselves. To reinvent yourself again is to accept change.
Yes.
Without change, you cannot compete. So what I'm finding is companies such as myself, 20 years in business, we have to start to reinvent and reassess the way that we're doing business to make sure that we are maximizing our success in every avenue, and also expanding to different channels where we can reach global markets. And being online offers that. So that to me is very important when I'm thinking about the term reinvention. It's changing.
Wow, that is an awesome definition. We're just going to jump in with both feet here and just want to talk about how you guys started with Duroseau Management. You were a architect assistant at Drexel University.
Yes.
Tell us about how that experience that you had helped catapult your business.
Awesome. That experience was the pivotal point in my career when I realized that being an engineer meant serving others, understanding what that discipline called for. That discipline doesn't call for you to just collect a check.
Yes.
That discipline calls for you to solve problems, solve civil problems that will improve the greater good for everyone. So during my senior year, I remember professor said, hey, you guys are getting ready to graduate. If you're truly about what you say you are, I need some engineers down here to help me solve a PennDOT problem. And so I stood up to the call, and I found that I had a great knack for taking technology and integrating it with the civil engineering that I learned to actually help us to solve some of those problems. So during that period, as a research assistant for Drexel, we had to study why T-beam bridges were being decommissioned in Pennsylvania. For a bridge to be decommissioned, it costs millions and billions of taxpayer dollars.
Okay.
So in order for us to help PennDOT understand why these bridges were deteriorating at a dramatic rate, I had to understand how to take that and kind of put it in palatable sizes.
Yes.
So I utilized GIS and plotted where the bridges were, studied all of the problems that they were having. And what we found that the bridges that had similar environmental impacts faced the same challenges. And what that allowed PennDOT to do was actually look at the materials that they were using to build the roads and the bridges, and to also look at some of the material they were using to treat the roads. Because of that research, now PennDOT has strict rules and regulations of what kind of gravel that they accept, the combinations of the soil. All of these things are what that research has allowed them to do. So now the bridges are not deteriorating at a rapid rate. They're able now to have preventive maintenance and also to manage the types of materials that will allow those structures to have longevity.
Wow. For our listeners who are unfamiliar with the term GIS, could you define that for us, Betty?
Sure. GIS is short for Geographical Information Systems. And basically what GIS is taking coordinates, XY coordinates, and plotting them on maps. And what GIS is beneficial for, it provides you with a visual pattern of characteristics that you might be able to use in order to solve certain problems.
And you've not only supported PennDOT on this particular research project, but you've also done some work with the Philadelphia Gas Works,
Yes.
with the City of Philadelphia, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about this work that you've done.
So once I realized that little research, as tedious and mundane as it was,
yes,
I had to understand the value that it brought. And you can't really see the value until you actually see the results. And that kind of led me to government. And I remember I got a job as a student intern working at the managing director's office, and they were having lots of problems. City of Philadelphia was having lots of problems with illegal dumpings.
Wow.
It was so bad that the Environmental Protection Agency was on our backs. So what I did as a student intern was I allowed the city to explain to me what the problem was. I created a solution for them to start managing those illegal dumpings by creating a back-end database. We had a call center where people would call and we would start tracking, and then we would turn those addresses into work orders and then eventually get them all sealed and closed up. And that year, we received the We Delivered Award.
Wow.
So at that point is when I realized that doing civil projects that help to solve problems on a civil level, eventually improving the quality of life for the community, is where I wanted to be. And that's where I shined. So I started to deliberately look for opportunities where I would have a bigger impact on helping the greater good. And then that took me to public property. Public property is in charge of all facilities in the city of Philadelphia. At the time, they needed a central enterprise solution to help them manage all of that. Okay.
Yes.
So that they could track inventory, so that they could track resource and labor. So I was hired as a consultant to assist them with that. And before you know it, I became their subject matter expert when
Wow.
it came to enterprise implementations. I sat on the board for the city when they wanted to consolidate most of the departmental operations into one system. It was an awesome period in my life. It was a period where I really felt that I was living up to what I went to school for.
Wow.
And so then, it brings me back to where I'm at today. And now I'm looking at solving global challenges, not just local.
Let's put a pin in that for 1 second. I would love for you to talk about how you see your competitive advantage in the marketplace.
Awesome.
So talk to us about you've done a bevy of work across various municipalities, just fresh out of college from, Drexel University. Talk about how your experience with building out operations and systems is really your competitive advantage in the marketplace.
The competitive advantage, I would say, that Duroseau Management Services brings to the table is that we are very passionate of what we do. There's no project that we haven't worked on that we don't have a very close relationship with our clients.
Yes.
It's almost as if our client's objective is our main priority. So we actually provide a lot of hands-on analysis of what their requirements are. We're really into getting the details so that we could provide them with a solution that is very effective and actually solves the problem that they hired us to do. And I think another thing that sets us apart is that we are not afraid to go above and beyond what is called of us. And, Duroseau Management also has a 90% success rate in almost all the projects that we've worked on. So I think it's my reputation that helps propel where we are today, along with my team. And these are the things I think that really sets us apart from our competitors.
How would you say that you go about winning the various projects or the work that you've acquired? Is it through the reputation? Is it through referrals? Are you going actively seeking out projects?
All of the above, except for the actively looking.
Okay, that's a good problem to have.
Well, that has changed now because now, like I've mentioned before, reinventing myself, I realize I do have to go out there and hustle and get work as well.
Yes.
But for about 10 years of us being in business, the way that we've always attained our opportunities was word of mouth and reputation. So it was once I finished one project, it was like, Betty, hey, we need you over here.
Yes.
We have a situation, at the state. We need you to help us make sure to get this project on board and make sure that it's delivered on time. So I just got a reputation for the toughest, complex project manager that gets the job done.
That's awesome. So I want to go back and address the global perspective that you have. From my understanding, you are a descendant from Haiti.
Yes.
And your father was one of your first mentors, guides, resources. And talk to us about how you have roots from Haiti and how it's translated into the work that you've done and how your parents have helped foster that sense of pride that you have.
Wow, good question. Well, my parents were always very adamant about us getting good education. They were really on the forefront of making sure that we had the best education and that we understood that without an education, you cannot be successful.
Yes.
To give you an example, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I remember Saturday mornings, my dad would have his colleagues come to the home, and they would have folding chairs opened in our bedroom. My dad would have a blackboard, and he would teach them calculus. So in my young mind, I was very, I admired my dad. I was like, wow, look at these older men sitting down and listening to my dad. And I think that's what kind of gave me the incentive of going after engineering. Wow. But I didn't want to just go into engineering because my dad did it. So I did my research and studied different disciplines in engineering to see which one fit my personality the most. At first, I chose chemical engineering. But when I found that you spend predominantly 90% of your time in a lab in solitude, I realized I needed to get out and really wanted to interact with people.
Yes.
And that's when I found civil engineering. And to me, civil engineering encompasses a lot of territory.
Yes.
In terms of transportation, in terms of water, in terms of urban development. And so that was my calling. And when I went to Drexel, I went to Drexel in hopes of one day going to the Peace Corps and going to Haiti and using my civil engineering skills to help solve some of the problems that they had then that they're still having today.
Wow.
Such as lack of electricity, lack of clean water. There are no paved roads almost. There's only 2 main roads. So these are the things that really propelled me into going into civil engineering.
So what's your vision for giving back to Haiti?
This past year, I took an impromptu trip to Haiti. The reason why was this was the first time that they had a technical summit, a digital technical summit in the Caribbean ever.
Wow.
This was an opportunity for entrepreneurs and people who were inventors and innovators to come together on the island, talk about the current problems that Haiti was having, and to figure out solutions.
Yes.
So that to me, again, was a call for me to go. And so never been to Haiti before. Looking back, I really took a lot of risks, but I'm glad I did because that's what being in business is about. You have to take risk and you have to jump at the opportunity when it calls.
Yes.
So from doing that, I gained a lot of exposure in the Haitian community. I have lots of connections with engineers and researchers and young college students. I was so impressed by the level of intelligence that they had that even surpassed my own.
Yes.
And what I realized is that what was lacking was operations and processes. So now I'm working with a couple of Haitian firms, and we're submitting bids, and we're trying to see how we can assist the government in moving forward, especially in renewable energy and also in construction.
That's wonderful. I want you to talk to us about how you've been able to leverage your skill set to grow personally.
Okay.
So as an engineer, having a father who was an engineer, teaching calculus, it's a very interesting play day that you've had, growing up. Play dates where you've been surrounded by excellence, it seems. Talk to us about how you've been able to use your skill set as an engineer, someone who's great at setting up processes and managing operations to grow personally as an individual.
What that experience has given me to definitely be humble and to always take yourself outside of the equation, because it's never about the individual.
Yes.
It's always about the purpose and making sure that you address what that purpose is. And that to me is what has helped me in my personal life, that it's not about myself. It's about the value that you bring to help bring solutions to the table. It's about results at the end of the day.
So would you say that you're a results-driven person?
Most definitely.
But results in the sense that you want to make sure that it aligns with your purpose in life.
You got it. It has to serve a greater good. It has to serve, the betterment of people, improve their lives, access to things such as clean water and electricity. These are the things that I'm definitely an advocate of. I'm an advocate for children having access to education, especially in STEM. Without the next generation, we will be lost. So it's our responsibility to give back. I truly am an advocate for all the things that stand for the greater good and serving.
On the heels of talking about serving, I want you to tell us about some of the initiatives that you're doing here in the States to give back to other businesses.
Well, again, going back to your initial question of reinvention, once I realized that my own business was starting to suffer because of the lack of agility that I had within my own business and relying predominantly on government agencies as my source of income, I realized that I had to start opening up my professional services to everyone. And what I'm starting to find out is that small businesses can actually benefit in a greater way than government agencies can from the services that I provide.
How so?
For example, smaller businesses, because they don't have large numbers of people, they don't have large, complicated processes.
Yes.
They have what you call agility. They have the ability to change quicker than the Fortune 500 companies.
Yes.
So therefore, I can take a look at existing companies, look to see where they want to go. And I'm able to put a timeline in between that and get them to that place quicker than I could with any government agency that I used to work with. Because of the fact that you have all of these processes in place, these legacy systems, and you have employees that have been doing the jobs the same way for 40 years. So now you have to interact change. You have to have change management in there.
Yes.
And that's much more of a labor intensive project than working with small businesses. So in reinventing myself, I actually found that it's much more profitable to actually serve smaller businesses than it would be larger agencies.
I think that's wonderful. I would love for you to talk a bit more about profitability. And so how have you been able to leverage change management, forecasting, as well as operations to help a small business become more profitable?
Again, the start of Duroseau Management Services was all based on doing research.
Yes.
So that's when I realized back in the 90s that the most important thing in a business is their data. So the more you can leverage data, you can now get metrics.
Yes.
With metrics, you can now analyze and make good decisions based on facts.
Yes.
Not on feeling.
Yes.
So the more that you can forecast, you can better forecast, you can make better decisions based on the information that's in front of you. So through data analytics, any small business can improve their operations if they understand the value of capturing that data from the beginning. So what I do is make sure they have the systems in place to start capturing that information, making sure that everything is integrated. The more you have things integrated, the easier it is for you to become out of the equation and giving you more time to make better decisions to improve the process instead of you actually being a part of the process.
That's great. For our listeners who are unfamiliar with the term forecasting, could you share with them what that term means?
Forecasting is actually taking a good look at where you currently are and understanding where you want to be predominantly 5 years from now. So if, in fact, you have a business that you just started and you want to take it from 100,000 to 500,000, doing forecasting will allow you to fill in between the steps that it's going to take for you to get from point A to point B. So forecasting is a way for you to kind of gauge your progress in your current business and to also tweak whatever you have to do to get to that point. So, for example, if you take a look at the cost, your expenses,
Yes.
and you look at ways that you can start saving. Okay.
Yes.
That's one way that you can improve your forecast. If you look at your competitors and you look to see where you rank with your competitors and where you're lacking, these are all things that help you get to your forecasting a little bit better. So again, these are all the metrics that you need to have in place so that you can make better decisions to get you from point A to point B.
So under the guides of Duroseau Management, what would be some core tenets or tips that you can recommend to a small business that's looking to reinvent itself?
Okay. Some tips that I would give a small business that's looking to reinvent themselves is to really start paying attention to what's happening in our current news, what's happening globally. All of these things will impact where you're going to go tomorrow. Once you understand the world in which that you want to start providing a service
Yes.
or product to, once
Yes.
you understand your demographics, then you can start planning accordingly. But my definitive tip is to make sure you have a plan. Without a plan, you plan to fail.
Yes.
I really feel that the most important thing is to have a business plan in place.
Yes.
That business plan is going to help give your business structure, and it's also going to be your handbook as a business owner to go back to make sure that you're doing what you have stated in your business plan,
Yes.
or to tweak and reassess the direction that you're going. But you cannot do that unless you have a plan. So my tip to businesses looking to reinvent themselves is to go back, if you do have an existing business plan, assess it and revise it. Revise it so that it's current and that it meets the needs of the people today.
That's wonderful. Could you talk to the audience about how they might be able to access local municipalities? It was a very unique situation
Yes.
for you.
Mm-hmm.
While you were in college, you were able to work on a specific project for PennDOT,
Mm-hmm.
which was your first foray into working for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Yes.
But for those who don't necessarily have that in,
Mm-hmm.
how might you be able to offer some guidance to them to get connected?
The guidance that I can definitely offer that I know is you have to be proactive.
Okay.
Not only if you are a minority firm, definitely get your certifications and definitely try to go to as many networking events where you're going to touch the hearts and the minds of the people that you want to serve. Definitely, I would say that you have to be proactive.
Yes.
Get all the certifications that you possibly can get. Go to any pre-bid meetings if there's meetings that you have to go to in order to get those opportunities that you want to get. And you have to be able to be socially involved in not just the opportunity that you want, but in other avenues and other aspects where people can vouch that, in fact, you are the person for the job. So the more that you proactively are involved in moving your business forward, the more successful you'll be.
That's awesome. Just recently, actually March 1st, the Enterprise Center has become a certifying body.
Wow.
Where they're now offering certifications as well as renewals for MBEs,
Wow.
minority business enterprises, as well as disabled small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
What might be some specific certification designations that you might recommend that a small business pursue if they're looking to do more federally funded work?
Definitely come here and get certified. And the reason I say that is because as a minority or a woman-owned business, these projects, these federal projects have to have minority participation.
Yes.
It's almost like voting. If you don't vote, your voice isn't heard.
Absolutely.
So if you're not certified, you can't compete.
Yes.
But if you are certified, you now have an in to running in the race of possibly landing a huge federal opportunity. So I would definitely encourage small businesses that are listening to utilize your services of becoming certified as a minority woman-owned business and using that certification to their advantage to participate on these projects that have set-asides for minority businesses. And once you start getting a couple of these opportunities, you're going to start getting track records and develop good reputations if you're delivering result-driven projects. Once you start getting that reputation, then before you know it, you don't have to go into the bidding circle. They'll start calling you to become sole source if you are specialized in a particular area of your industry. So that's another thing, is to make sure that you have a niche. Make sure that you are specialized in something that no other company can offer. That's what will definitely set you apart from other companies.
That's great. That's great advice. And on the heels of giving that advice, Betty, you're currently enrolled in the U.S. Department of Transportation's bonding education program for the Mid-Atlantic region.
Yes.
Since you're also in the reinvention phase of your business, talk to us about how you've been able to leverage this bonding education program to grow your business.
This bonding education program is awesome. And the reason I say that is because it really gives you all the details that are involved in actually working in construction with the DOT.
Yes.
What it has done for me is to start seeing some of these things that are repetitive. For example, in construction, you always have scheduling and you always have estimating.
Yes.
These are things that are repetitive. So now, with my brain always thinking technology and operation, I'm looking to see how I can integrate that into an automated system so that now it's not something that is manually driven, but something that through, again, metrics,
Yes.
you can start develop better estimates. You can schedule based on past projects and use them as guides to kind of tweak and refine the process moving forward.
That's great. And Betty, you also gave a power pack testimonial in front of your cohort in this bonding education program. Share with us what you shared with them.
What I shared with my colleagues in the program is that it's difficult to actually get your foot in the door through construction if you're a minority-owned business. It is.
Yes.
And we all have very common pains that we go through. Not having enough cash flow, not having the bonding, not having the support or the experience. But what I did share with my colleagues is that we all can look at the value that each one of our individual companies brings to the table.
Yes.
And look at ourselves as one big unit.
Yes.
And that's another way that you can tackle opportunities, by partnering with other businesses where you're weakened. So if I'm not, for example, if I need a construction worker,
Yes.
then I would partner with a company that provides those resources.
Yes.
Hence, making my team stronger. And now we're able to compete where we weren't able to compete by ourselves. So I think, the message that I was trying to get across to my colleagues is that together we can make a bigger impact than we can by ourselves.
Absolutely. And for those who are listening and unfamiliar with the term bonding, for the purposes of working in construction, could you explain what bonding means?
Bonding is a form of insurance. It's a liability for construction projects. If anything should go wrong, you have the bonding capacity to take care of any of those liabilities if they should occur. But what I'm learning is that you never want to get into any incidents where you may need to use your bonding. But bonding is just a way that your employer or the person who is giving you that project knows that you are able to handle any liability that should occur on the project site.
That's wonderful. Could you talk to us about how you've been able to, given your background and your eye for talent, Betty, could you talk about how you've been able to build your team? For Duroseau Management.
Okay. The way that I've been able to build my team for Duroseau Management is actually partnering with other companies. For example, when we needed to create a solution, I'm not a developer, but I definitely know how to provide the developer with the information to develop the solution.
Absolutely.
So what I would do is partner with really good developers and develop a rapport so that whenever I have opportunities that needed their skills, they were always on board with me. And you have to have these really great relationships, again, with other companies, because not one company can always solve or address a problem by themselves, but collaborating with other companies through partnerships, these are really great avenues to actually position yourselves to be able to compete.
Would you say having a collaborative spirit, an entrepreneurial spirit, it's a mindset that is developed, or it's a mindset that is kind of innate?
I wouldn't say it's innate, because again, when I was looking into engineering, I thought that I was more of an introvert. I thought I was more of the person in the background to just solve the problems. But I realized that you have to have human interaction.
Yes.
There's no way that you can solve a problem without interacting with the people that you want to serve.
Yes.
So it's something that is developed. And if you have it inside of you, then guess what? You've gotten to the finish line sooner than most.
Wow.
But if you don't have that collaboration in you, it's something that you definitely have to develop once you become a business owner, because those relationships more than likely will be the ones to define where you go tomorrow.
So what might be some aspirational goals that you have for Duroseau Management?
My aspirational goal, again, is to serve the greater good. And as 5 years goes by, you start to realize, okay, I definitely want to make an impact.
Yes.
But sometimes, as I mentioned before, you can't do it alone.
Yes.
So my aspiration for Duroseau Management Services is to help those companies that can solve those bigger problems that I wanted to, help them get there so that they can solve the problems. Because again, it's not about me, but it's about the value that you bring to bring results and solutions to a greater problem.
Absolutely. So in closing, Betty, could you tell us what success means to you?
What success means to me is not only having a passion for what you want to do and actually doing it, but it's also about how many times you get up when you fail.
Yes.
That to me is what success is, because I could have just stopped once I realized that Duroseau Management wasn't where it was 5 years ago or 6 years ago.
Yes.
But that allowed me or motivated me to reinvent myself.
Yes.
So that I can still stay in competitive mode. So therefore, to me, what success is getting up every time you fall.
Yes. Wow. That is so powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today,
My
Betty.
pleasure.
Really wonderful message. And so my name is Tiffany Spraggins-Payne, and I'm your host of Zigzag. Today, my guest is Betty Duroseau. She is the principal of Duroseau Management Services, LLC, which is a civil engineering and IT consulting firm, which focuses on integrating technology to modernize the management of civil infrastructures. Betty, where can we connect with you? Where can we learn more about Duroseau Management Services, LLC?
You can reach me on my website, duroseaumanagement.com, and that's spelled D as in David, UROSEAU, management.com.
Wonderful. And for more information about Zigzag, you can reach us at www.theenterprisecenter.com, as well as we're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you have inquiries about certification, if you want to become MBE certified or disabled certified, you can also reach us at www.theenterprisecenter.com for information about the bonding education program and the U.S. DOT Mid-Atlantic Regional Services. We can be reached at www.masbtrc.com. My name is Tiffany Spraggins-Payne, and I'm signing off.
Hello everyone, I'm Ryan Martin, the production consultant for The Grit Live. If you enjoyed this episode of Zigzag, please share it with the world. If you have any feedback or would like to be featured on this program, please email us at thegritlive eatsforequity@gmail.com. Join us Thursday, May 3rd at Eats for Equity, a special fundraiser showcasing the Center for Culinary Enterprises and some of the businesses that you've heard on the Grit Lives programming. For more details, visit e4e2018.eventbrite.com. That's e4e2018.eventbrite.com. Thank you for listening.